All right, Shalom. I'd like to start off saying Call Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harakak Wadash, Ma'amah. Double honors to the old apostles, William Millstone. Double honors to our elder apostle, as well, her one by Yahshua, all down in the Lions and Camp. Salutations to the Akim that puts in the truth, sincerity, the truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. All right, I'm Khanak on by Yahshua, all from the Lions of the Yahshua Camp. And this is another Lions Den News and Prophecy. So here we go. This is Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 1. It says, Behold, speak down the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. All right, so now I'm going to break this up into two parts because there's two articles I want to talk about. This article right here, where it says Iran says U.S. must accept its peace plan or face failure. And there's another one that says that if the U.S. strikes again, um, how did it go? The U.S. strikes again, um, basically saying Iran was just, uh, they were just joking around, like basically saying no more Mr. Nice Guy. I forgot how the article was worded. I'll probably do a lesson after this one on that article too. But right. So you know, the United States President Trump wants a peace treaty under their terms, and the terms that the United States and Trump offered um, were rejected by Iran, right? So, so they're at a stalemate, chessmen, you know. But, however, that's what America's thinking. So America's just going to try to apply more muscle. See that? Try to force Iran, as Trump would say, to say uncle. All right. So it says Iran's chief negotiator said Tuesday that Washington must accept Tehran's latest peace plan or face failure after U.S. President Donald Trump warned the truce in the Middle East war was on the brink of collapse. Right, because nobody they're not going to accept under the terms, you know what I'm saying, that the United States is offering. And the United States doesn't want to accept the terms that Iran is offering. And Iran knew that the US wasn't going to accept their terms as far as what they wanted, you know. So they've been preparing themselves for war. And that who's preparing them for war? Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. See that? Hold on, let's get some real quick. That's what Iran is doing, preparing for war. Let me see. Um, okay, yeah. So this is Joel 3 and 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles: Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up." See that? So Yahweh Shemel Shai is setting the stage. That's why there's not going to be an agreement by either side. Which is going to ultimately, this regional war right here, Yahweh Shaphat, is ultimately going to bring forth and force these other nations to get involved, right? And bring out World War III, which is going to ultimately lead to the destruction of America and this whole beast system and the ushering in of the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Right? It says, verse 10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords, your pruning hook into spears, let the weak say I am strong. So so that's what Iran is saying. They're like, hey, either you agree to our terms or prepare to fail. America's saying, if you don't agree to our terms, we're going to annihilate. But I'm not sure what definition of annihilation that they had, because Trump said that they allegedly annihilated um, Iran's nuclear facilities, but I guess then turned around and said they had some kind of special shovel to dig him up. You see that? So um, that bluff game that the United States has been doing for some time is not working anymore. You know. All right, let's go back to the article. It says the war which erupted more than 2 months ago, which he said is going to post the last 2 weeks, with U.S. Israel strikes on Iran has spread throughout the Middle East. See that? It's spreading and roiled the global economy despite the ceasefire impacting hundreds of millions worldwide. You see that? It's concentrated in the middle, and like a cancer or a virus is spreading outward. It's spreading outward, which is going to draw, so the least of them shall draw them out. Not only America, these other nations also. It's going to draw everybody into a world war. We see how the economy is suffering from it. Ultimately, in order to try to stop the bleeding on the economy suffering and create like worldwide economic chaos, to put a stop to that, ultimately they have to go to war. And even when going to war, that's leading them to their own demise because that's going to be the destruction of this whole system. But they're gonna try to mend it back together, like Rise the Phoenix up out of the ashes with the MOTB. But ultimately, when they try to force that on to try to stimulate the economy, that's when Yahweh Shema Shah say enough is enough. You know. So like it says the war which erupted more than 2 months ago with U.S. Israel strikes on Iran has spread throughout the Middle East and roiled the global economy despite the ceasefire impacting hundreds of millions of worldwide. So in the other article, it went into talking about how Germany, France, and a couple other countries that were coming into to defend the UAE. Um, so and, they bombed Iran. You know what I'm saying, during the ceasefire. Oh my goodness, that news flash said it, Trump's going to replace "In God We Trust" into "We Trust Trump." Wow, that'd be epic if he did that. All right, it says that's another lesson. It says both sides refuse to make concessions and repeatedly threaten to resume fighting, but neither appears willing to return to war, all-out war. Shit, is ready to turn into all-out war. They just moving like chess. They ain't gonna jump out there and show their whole hand like the United States did. Now they trying to fold, but you all in now. You can't pull your chips back. It says there is no alternative but to accept the rights of the Iranian people as laid out in the 14-point proposal. Any other approach will be completely unconclusive, nothing but one failure after another, Mohammed Badger Gialabaf said on a post on X. Like they said, if you don't go according to the proposal we've given you, everything else is going to be null and void because then it's be failure after another because they're gonna turn them all away if it's not written exactly how they proposed it. It said the longer they drag their feet, the more American taxpayers will pay for it. See that at some point you're gonna have to stop the bleeding, so they're gonna have to go back to war. The Pentagon said on Tuesday that the cost of the war had climbed nearly 29 billion, about 4 billion higher than an estimate offered 2 weeks ago. And I did a lesson on that. And that 29 billion has nothing to do with the cost of the actual war itself. But if I'm not mistaken, that person with 25 billion, but that number had to do in the value amount of munition that's been used so far for the war. All the other expenses have not been calculated in, and what they're saying is this war is costing roughly $1 billion a day. So now you say it's been going over 2 months. What that's 60 days. So $60 billion approximately is the average cost of this war, being like $1 billion daily that the taxpayers have to pay. See that? See that? So something's gonna have to give. They can't just sit around and just not, you know what I'm saying? It says Iran sent its latest proposal in response to an earlier U.S. plan, details of which remain limited. Media reports have said the American plan involved a one-page memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the fighting and establishing a framework for negotiation on Iran's nuclear program. Iran's foreign ministry said its response called for ending the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, halting the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports, and securing the release of Iranian assets frozen under long-standing sanctions. But Trump slammed Tehran's reply as totally unacceptable, as the United States would enjoy a complete victory over Iran, that the truce that has halted fighting for over a month was on its last legs. See, they don't care about that, though. They don't care. It says the U.S. president subsequently said ahead of this Tuesday departure for a trip to China that he would have a long talk with counterpart Xi, Xi Jinping about Iran, but that he does not need Beijing's help to end the war. Yeah, so what you going over to talk to him about? And um, I think China. How much of Iran's oil does China get? Okay, okay. As of 2026, China imports roughly 1.38 to 1.5 million barrels per day of crude oil from Iran. The volume represents over 80% of Iran's total oil exports. That's why you're going to China. So Iran is heavily reliant on China, because 80% of their exports goes to China. So, you know, how the United States gonna think they're gonna get in there and try to control some stuff when you know what I'm saying? So he can't really move too heavy um um in that region dealing with that oil because China ain't gonna have it. It says Iran's Revolutionary Guards said they carried out drills in Tehran to confront any movement of the American Zionist enemy, state media reported Tuesday. It says Defense Ministry spokesperson Reza Tlaib said if the United States declines a diplomatic path, it should expect a repeat of its defeats on the military battlefield. Damn. See, Trump kept talking about United States winning, but Iran talking about they winning. He say he say if you don't draw some if you don't come with some sort of agreement, prepare to get your ass whooped some more. Iran said they gonna kick their ass so bad they foot gonna need a cast. It says the War of Worlds has unnerved people in Iran who face uncertainty. We are just trying to dig our nails into anything that can help us survive. The future is so uncertain, and we are just living day to day. Mariam, a 43-year-old painter from the capital, Tehran, told Paris-based journalists. Yeah, but eventually that's going to happen here in the States. We are trying to find a way to continue keeping hope. It's very difficult right now because they're trying to put a chokehold with like I said earlier in the article, like unfreezing the funds. They got sanctions funds that Iran needs to help stimulate their economy, and America knows that. So what are they doing? They're putting a chokehold on it and try to use that as a leverage, so to get them to comply. See that? It says Iran is restricting maritime. Wait, hold on. Since Trump's angry reaction to Iran's counteroffer sparkled a spike in oil prices and dashed hopes that a deal could be quickly negotiated to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping. See that? That's showing Iran showing its power by doing that. Iran is restricting maritime traffic in the waterway and has been setting up a payment mechanism to charge tolls for crossing ships, sparking a global energy crisis that the head of Saudi oil giant Aramco has described as the largest energy supply shock the world has ever experienced. It, that's showing the strength that they have. That's saying letting the weak say that I'm strong, because if they were that afraid of America, those the straits of Hormuz would have been open. And Project Freedom, um, obviously that's been put on hold. It probably didn't work because I think the first time that they tried it, if I'm not mistaken, um, Iran fired upon them. See that? The New York Times reported Tuesday that classified U.S. intelligence assessments say Iran still has substantial missile capabilities, with about 70% of its mobile launchers and pre-war missile stockpiles still in action, and has restored access to 30 of 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz. See, see, see. They getting ready for round. It's 4 quarters in the whole game, buddy. It's 4 quarters in the whole game. This halftime. They ready. They ready for that second half. It says U.S. officials have stressed it would be unacceptable for Tehran to maintain control of the straits, which usually carries about a fifth of the world's oil and natural gas. Qatari Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Ali Tahani, goddamn, said Tuesday that Iran should not use the Straits as a weapon to pressure or to blackmail the Gulf countries. You're shitting me. It says Sanan Vakil, director of Middle East and North African program at the at think tank uh, Chat Chatham House. Damn. Meanwhile, said Iran's leader think they can outlast Trump. Tehran was committed to negotiations, Vakil added, but wanted to extract concessions because of their improved hand. Meanwhile, Defense Minister Richard Marles said Australia would join the strictly defensive mission led by France and Britain to secure. Yeah, that's it. It was not Germany. It was France, Britain, and um Australia. Yeah. All right. Watch that later. And it says to secure shipping through the straits once it is established, and contributes a surveillance aircraft to protect the United Arab Emirates from Iran drone attacks. says battlefield hell. It says he says hell. He said death and hell follows. All this hell is because of one nation of people, Esau. Esau, the Lord is using Esau to bring everybody to the brinks of their wickedness, so he could destroy it all at once. It says on the war's Lebanon front, deadly Israeli strikes continue in the south Tuesday, according to the health ministry, where fighting were on where fighting war on despite an April 17th ceasefire agreement. Yeah, yeah, first it was the UAE that's because when they first called for the ceasefire, America was slick. They didn't include Lebanon in that, but Iran was like, no, Lebanon is included with the ceasefire. Like we ain't got nothing to do with that. See that? It says Israel has intensified its attacks as it trades fire with Iran back Hezbollah since the truce. Israeli strikes in South Lebanon killed 13 people, including a soldier, a child, and two rescue workers on Tuesday, the country's health ministry said. Lebanon's health minister said earlier in the day that more than 2,880 people have been killed since the country was dragged into a wider war on March the 2nd, including 380 since the truce took hold. Hezbollah chief Naim Qassam said on Tuesday his group's weapons were not part of a third round of upcoming negotiations between Iran and Lebanon this week, vowing not to surrender, however great the sacrifice. Said we will not abandon the battlefield and we will not turn it into hell for Israel. It said we will turn it into hell for Israel, he said in his statement. These boys ready to thump. That's what weak saying. Let the weak say that I am strong, man. The Lord is setting us up. And all this is to glorify his name and turn the captivity of the children of Israel, which is Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the speckled bird, captivity back right before our eyes. All right, I'm gonna hop back on in a second to do the other article. Lord willing, this was edifying and serve the purpose for the hope of the elect, the ones who truly believe in the name Yahweh Shema Shai. With that, let's say Kal Halayim La Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Harakah Kodash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great Muslim. Double honors to our elder apostles as well, and her one Ban Yasha, all down the lines they camp. Salutations to the Akim of the pushing the truth, to sincerity, the truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name Yahweh Shema Shai. Shalom.